Foldable phones have always had this weird problem. You open them up expecting some huge movie screen moment, and instead you get this awkward square display where videos feel boxed in and apps never quite sit right. That's basically been the quiet issue with foldables for years. But now, Apple might be stepping in, and this is where it gets interesting. A new leak from well-known leaker Sonny Dixon shows alleged CAD drawings of the iPhone Fold, and the design immediately feels different. The second you see it, it doesn't look like another standard foldable. The proportions stand out right away, and that changes the whole vibe of the device. Instead of leaning into that strange square look most foldables still use, Apple's version appears to go in a more natural direction. The shape looks more familiar, more balanced. Honestly, it feels like Apple may have intentionally avoided the part of foldables that people have quietly tolerated instead of actually liking. The closest comparison people are making is Google's Pixel 10 Pro Fold, but even that only goes so far. This doesn't look like a copy. It still seems to follow Apple's own design language, which makes the whole thing feel a lot more deliberate. And the more you look at it, the more one detail starts to matter. What makes this leak more notable is that this same design has shown up across multiple earlier reports. In leak culture, that actually means something. When different sources keep landing on the same general look, it usually suggests the picture is starting to come together. And once the phone opens up, that's where things get even more important. According to the rumors, unfolding the device reveals a screen shape that feels much closer to a tablet than the usual foldable square. A lot of people are comparing it to an iPad mini-style experience. And let's be real, that could be a huge win if Apple actually pulls it off. A tablet-like aspect ratio could make videos look more natural, help apps fit better, and maybe save developers from rebuilding everything from scratch. If they already make apps for both iPhone and iPad, this could be a much easier transition. That sounds small, but in real use, it could be one of the biggest advantages. There's also talk about the outer display, and this part is kind of surprising. Reports say the cover screen could be around 5.5 inches. That would make it one of the smallest iPhone displays Apple has put out in a long time, especially next to something like the rumored 6.1-inch iPhone 17e. So yeah, that raises a real question. Will that smaller front screen feel practical or just cramped? It might actually be great for quick one-handed stuff, especially when you're texting, checking directions, or doing the usual 9-to-5 phone shuffle. But until people actually use it, that part is still a big unknown. Then there's the back of the phone. The rear camera design is also familiar. It lines up with the rumored look of the iPhone Air, and some earlier reports even described this foldable as basically two iPhone Air devices placed side by side with a hinge in the middle. That's a pretty specific image, and honestly, it helps explain the design direction pretty well. Of course, we still need to keep our feet on the ground here. These are leaks, and Apple has a long history of changing things late or showing up with something nobody expected. For now, the current rumor says this device could launch later this year alongside the iPhone 18 Pro and iPhone 18 Pro Max. And the price, that's where things get wild. Reports say Apple's first foldable could cost as much as $2,400. If that ends up being true, this won't just be another new iPhone. It would be one of the boldest product moves Apple has made in a long time. But the design isn't the only thing getting attention, because another leak adds even more fuel to this story. What if Apple's first foldable shows up with no visible crease and some seriously surprising hardware? That idea is picking up momentum after a leak from Yes1122 claimed Apple may be building a premium foldable that could launch as the iPhone Ultra. And if these details are accurate, this thing could seriously change the conversation. That leak points to a foldable display with no visible crease, a 5.3-inch outer screen, and a 7.6-inch inner display when opened. It also mentions a titanium frame, aluminum body, 4.5mm thickness unfolded, Touch ID instead of Face ID, and a 5600 milliamp battery. Price could land between $1,800 and $2,500. If that's real, Apple isn't just entering the foldable race, it's trying to shake up the whole market.